is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us, our final show from Grand Bahama for the week. We're so happy to have you all joining us. Hallelujah! Junkanoo is saved. You've heard it. You saw the press conference early today. The office of the Prime Minister, Junkanoo, will go on as planned and as scheduled for Boxing Day and New Year's Day parade. The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Honorable Mario Boleg, also joined by the Chairman of the JCNP. They came in and united together and made the announcement that there's an agreement. Junkanoo will move forward. We now know what happened to the Valley Boys. The Valley Boys, the world famous Valley Boys will rush as they have, and they picked in the category, A category, and the Valley Boys way forward. Well, they'll rush, but they won't be, I guess, judged. They're going to be in the fun category group because they weren't registered with the JCNP. So it seems that JCNP rules stood. Junkanoo stands, and everybody just got to show up and have fun. At the end of the day, that's the decision, right? We still await the court's decision on who is the official Valley Boys. But for now, in the A category, which Bahamians will be looking forward to compete against all the other big dogs, will be, of course, the world-famous Valley Boys. And so there you have the ruling today. Junkanoo continues to move on. They said they've met with the Valley Boys way forward, which is, of course, that team. They met with them. They explained to them. They have an agreement. And so there you have it. So for Valley Boys fans and lovers, at least you get to see Valley Boys twice in that night. One in the A category and the other one in the F category. Now, you know I'm going to throw shade because, you know, I believe in opening every door. We're Saxons. I'm public disclosure about it. And so what does that mean? What if Valley Boys in the fun category, the way forward, what if they're better than Valley Boys in the A category? You know, that just put a lot of pressure on the world famous Valley Boys. Because that means you got to come out like an A group. Because if the fun group looks better than you, it's going to be a problem. So I think what this is going to make is for an exciting Junkanoo night. People are going to be watching to see how this all plays out. And you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and whether Valley Boys fans who are cheering in the A category end up cheering also in the fun category. So what is that going to happen? Are we going to have the fans, are they going to be split? Are you going to have Valley Boys A category fans and Valley Boys fun category fans? Are the ones in the A who are supporting the fun category, are they going to sit small in the A category and cheer on somebody else? It's going to be interesting. All I know is I'm going to make sure I'm right there to see how this unfolds on Bay Street. But like they say, Christmas is saved. Junkanoo continues on, and we move on to the next, whatever the next will be. Hopefully, no more dramas for right now. All right, enough of that. We have an excellent show, our last show here in Grand Bahama tonight. And on this show, we're going to talk about some interesting things. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this new investment, multi-million-dollar investment. It is one of the world's most luxurious brands. It's coming to Grand Bahama. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about people who are getting their records expunged in Grand Bahama so that they can be able to do some things to better their future. And then how does that impact community work and the needs that are in Grand Bahama? We'll talk about that. And then what better way to end our shows in Grand Bahama? We have an update on the whole Ingrid Carey saga and how she's been progressing. We're going to have Dr. Sandy and, of course, Ingrid Carey's sister back here to tell us how this matter is going along and pressing its way and what has been happening since we last spoke. That's at the end of the show, so you got to stay till the end of the show to see that segment. All right, so let's get started. The rundown. Our final episode this week from Grand Bahama. We begin right after the break. Stay close. And welcome back. As we said before in the first segment, there's some great news is happening in Grand Bahama, and we'll be talking about it just in a few seconds ago. Grand Bahama is certainly grand, and with all of the new resurgence of tourism and resurgence of investments to the island. We've been hearing about it all year. The great investments from the cruise lines to the hotel properties, and now one of the world's biggest luxury brands has found a home in Grand Bahama, this time near East Grand Bahama. And of course, it is the Senses Residences, the Six Senses Residences. And if you know anything about luxury properties, it's right up there at the top. And they've set Grand Bahama as their new home and expect to break ground early next year and have it completed, first phase at least, by 2026. Joining me to represent the Weller development, of course, is Sarah Kirkby from Grand Bahama, who lives in Grand Bahama, who can tell the Grand Bahama story, knows I'm not even surprised. The Senses is here, Six Senses is here. You probably saw them somewhere in the U.S. and said, listen, I have the perfect spot for you. By the time you made the pitch to them, they were here.
They were.
Sarah, welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Very nice to have you. Lovely to have you back in Grand Bahama.
Listen, I'm getting too attached. This is becoming frightening.
Yeah. Well, you know, we do like to take you around here and have a good time.
I know. Let's talk Six Senses. Obviously, this is big for Grand Bahama because it represents another kind of brand.
It does.
To put in the Grand Bahama inventory. Talk about the Six Senses Residences.
So Six Senses is such an elite brand for us. It will take us to a new level. It's going to elevate, obviously, the hotels that we have here. So it's a luxury brand. Mainly, you find them in Europe and Asia. Mm-hmm. So this is their first foray into the Caribbean. Wow. And we've got it, which I think is fantastic. Weller Development brought them here after visiting the island with Rupert Hayward and absolutely falling in love with Grand Bahama. I think if you come here, and I know Jamie Sarles had spoken about it before, we have the space for the residencies or for growth, but we also have a couple of things that are key to this island. We have a beautiful canal system, right? It's called the Venice of the Bahamas. So that's already there. You couldn't do that now. You couldn't go back and environmentally build what we have already. That wouldn't happen. And then also we have proximity. We're literally, you're up and you're down. It's a 20-minute flight, and we have the space for the growth. And so what they're looking for is that barefoot luxury with a very elevated status. That's what Six Senses is all about. What's also beautiful about them, which I've found from meeting them all, is they're very much into community and also supporting everything within the community. They want locally grown products. They want to have Junkanoo crafting as for their kids to learn in the hotel. They want to embrace everything cultural about the island, which I think is fantastic. They're not bringing their brand here to transform us. They want us to be part of their brand, which I think is wonderful.
Here again, we're talking about opportunities that Bahamian entrepreneurships can take advantage of. Because people are saying, oh, how is this trickling down? And again, we have this conversation. Don't just sit on your laurels. This is a time to prepare, get your product together, because these companies who are building the Carnival, Six Senses, Mediterranean, all of these companies are looking to dovetail into a good quality Bahamian product.
Exactly.
That's what makes it authentically Bahamian. Yeah. And so this is a time now, instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to look for a job to work for them, that you can actually have a business and have them fund into what it is that you're going to be selling.
Oh, absolutely. I tell you what, when they came down and they've done lots of visits to see the site, we took them on boat tours, we did stuff. One of their favorite times, fish fry. Absolutely loved fish fry. They loved how we were cooking the fish. They loved how the fish was served. They loved the dancing. They loved the loud music. They loved the gully wash. Everything, But it's fun and it's different, and because I think in those atmospheres we're so lighthearted and we're fun, and it's the embrace of our people and our culture. It was what drew them here. Mark Wellers always says that when he came here, he could not believe how friendly everybody was. And it's back to that old school way that we are in Freeport, where everyone says hello. He said he sat at the airport and he was leaving, and the guys were just chatting with him. They didn't care he was a CEO. They knew he was getting on a private plane. It wasn't a big deal to them. They were chatting. Let me tell you about my island. Let me tell you what I love about here. And he loved that. And he still gets it, he says, when he comes. And I think that's what they want. They want that hello greeting, that old
Yeah.
70s kind of style
Yeah.
that used to be around that we offer here that is so lovely.
So tell us where this is for those who are not familiar with Grand Bahama.
Yeah.
What part of East Grand Bahama we're talking about?
So we're just at the extended end of the Lucaya area. A lot of people probably know Banana Bay. It's a very popular place to go. And so at the end of that peninsula is this beautifully undeveloped piece of land, and they bought the entire peninsula. So the Grand Bahama, the residences, and you can look them up on Grand Bahama Residences, and I think it might say 6 cents is Grand Bahama Residence, so I should get it right. And there will be, the villas will be there, the homes. So we're looking at 28 homes, and they are very high end. They will start at $9 million.
Start at $9 million.
Start at $9 million and run up to $20 million. These are like 6 to 8 bedroom homes, 6,500 square feet. They're going to be designed by Olsen Kundig, which is one of the most famous architectural firms currently right now. And it's the drawings and you'll see them as you go through if you go onto the website and have a look. Then you've got the hotel itself. Now that will actually start construction straight away. That's what they'll build first. Now they're preparing the land also though, because these people who are buying these very expensive homes are gonna wanna see where they're going. They wanna know what their beach view is gonna look like on my second floor bedroom. So these are all the things that they're preparing for now. And once these homes start getting sold, then they'll start getting built. So it's hotel first, then the homes.
Of course, hotel will include restaurants and other amenities as well.
Restaurants, spa, bar. They'll also probably have some convention services as well. But they're looking probably to employ people, I would think, in late 2025.
Late 2025.
Yeah, so we don't, right now, what we're looking to do is to get people interested in construction.
Construction.
Construction
And
will
I
be the
hear
first
that
phase.
it's hard to find a construction worker nowadays because everybody's busy working.
Yeah, so, and a lot of people have gone to other islands. So you remember, this is a great time for Grand Bahama to bring back. And I think with Mark Weller and his team have traveled all over the islands, you know, speaking when they go in Nassau and they go over Abaco to go and look at everything else. There are so many Grand Bahamians who want to come home. And I feel this project is something that will bring them home.
We just talked about it earlier this week with the real estate community and Chamber of Commerce about the fact that real estate is prime right now in Grand Bahama. And he put out a clarion call to residences: if you can buy pieces of property, buy them now, because the value will go up significantly. And now we're here talking about these major world luxury brands. When they're in the community, it's going to automatically, all of the homes that are in that area leading up to that area, it's going to send the value all the way up.
It will.
Property will go all the way up.
It will.
So what you might have been able to buy something for maybe $20,000 for can perhaps be almost $2 million later.
Exactly, and we've got so much land and so much room for that. And right now we're finding, even with that, you know, there is a shortage on rentals because, you know, everyone kind of misses the whole thing with the shipyard and all the workers they have. They've got to house them as well. But there's also WASM, which is a very quiet, beautiful medical school, which has so many students. And we've got that little college community happening now, and they're having problems finding them. You know, they've got to have accommodation as well. So all that is happening. And the nice thing is that we have lots of streets for them to drive on, as we've talked. We don't have that traffic, so it's very good,
This makes a story that tells me Grand Bahama is coming back, bigger and better than before. Because we're now seeing added to the economy things we didn't see before. New investments, new opportunities, diversification from just being an industrial town to now mixing tourism, mixing medical schools, universities, the likes of it. You're seeing a new town emerge out of what has been a difficult period.
And I think this is what this project will bring to the island. It will elevate us. It will bring these additional jobs. We're looking at 400 construction jobs to start with. 400, and then we're looking at 200 permanent jobs once the hotel is open and the residences start. So you've got all of that to come to. Plus, you know, you've also got a little bit down the road, we've got Carnival, which is another fantastic opportunity and bringing residences, and also ties into that same entrepreneurship that you talked about, which I think is the perfect time for, if you are a young starter, this is the time to really get it going in a tourism-related opportunity for you.
What I like about this is that we're seeing the emergence of development now in the East and the West, areas that weren't traditionally, they didn't get all of this attention and attraction. Everything was centered around Freeport. We're now seeing it diversify, so the entire island becomes a brand.
Well, you should, I mean, the one person you should talk to would be Rudy Sawyer or Carmel Churchill. They will tell you, People forget how many beaches we have on this island, right? And we're very spoiled about beaches. If you go to other islands, I would say Abaco would be similar to us on different keys, but on our main island, we've got up to 40 beaches, and it's miles of pristine beach. I walk the beach with my dog in the morning. I'm constantly posting photos, and it's stunning. And that's not just where I live. It is all the way down to East End, miles of beach. And where Carnival is gorgeous. Where Weller is gorgeous. Wow. And then right next door to Weller is Barbary Beach, which is also stunning and sits near Peterson's Key, which is, Bahamas National Trust island as well. So it's a gorgeous place. And what I love about it when people come to visit and you show them the lifestyle that you can have here, and it's just 30 minutes away from Florida, what they love is like your kids kind of relax. They're no longer on their phones. They're not on the computer. They're running on the beach. You're sitting in the water having a cocktail, and they're having a great time and relaxing and not in that crazy media world, but just enjoying life and family and friendship.
Well, sir, I'll tell you, my sixth sense tells me that Grand Bahama is looking pretty good in a matter of years.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on and talking to us about Six Senses residences in East Grand Bahama.
Yeah.
All the
and
best.
Please look it up online.
Yes? Tell them where it is now.
So you go to Grand Bahama Residences, or you look up Six Senses Grand Bahama, and you will see beautiful video productions. And the best part is, all filmed here, all filmed by Bahamians.
Sarah, thank you for joining us in the rundown.
Thank you.
Stay with us. When we come back, we're not talking about not just recreating Grand Bahama, but how we're creating future and hopes of young people who had perhaps police records and how they got them expunged and now making a positive contribution to this island. That story is up next. Stay close. Welcome back to The Rundown. A special good night to all of you watching us on YouTube, or if you're in the Lion's Den on Facebook. It's always great to have you join the broadcast, as well as those who are watching us by network services. Well, this segment here I think is so important because while we talk about the advancement of the economy here in Grand Bahama, we talk about the redevelopment and the resurgence of the Grand Bahama economy, there has to be development of the people, and especially those who can make a meaningful contribution, but for some reason or the other have been challenged to get jobs, or because of records, criminal records, can't advance and take advantage of all the opportunities that are now being made available. But there is hope. There is a program that is implemented to help persons who may have had criminal records to have those records expunged. And of course, my guest tonight will talk a little bit about that and how that's working. He's responsible for the entire Northern Bahamas when it comes to expunsion of records, Mr. Barry Morris. And she's responsible she's the co-chair of the Rehabilitators Offenders Committee, Jamila Thompson. Both of you, welcome to The Rundown. Great to have you.
Good to be here.
All right, so let's start first of all and talk about what is this program and what does it seek to do?
So under the Ministry of National Security, the Rehabilitation of Offenders Committee seeks to, in a nutshell, vet those individuals who are first-time offenders or offenders with just one charge on their record. And the aim is to see people through this process, to interview, to determine their needs, to determine not just why they have applied, but what they hope to do with the future of their lives with an expunged record. So our committee meets once a month, and we review applications, interview applicants, and make recommendations to the minister for the expungement of the records.
Now, I like the fact that you said what plays a role in it is what are you seeking to do with this expunged record? So you can't say, I just want my record to be clean and be free, and I have no plans or nothing. I just want it off. That's not criteria.
Every meeting, the question comes up to the applicants: why did you come to the board? Why did you come? Who encouraged you, actually? But on top of that, what's next? Some say they want the freedom of not being able to say that their past follows them. Some are truly seeking better employment opportunities. Some want to be able to travel. We've had a case where a gentleman whose family moved to the States and he was not able to visit them in their home for many years. And so coming to the committee and making the application, they then have this degree of hope now that something will happen for them.
Let's bring you into play, Barry Morris, and talk about how vital is this program in our society?
This is of an extreme extreme importance. As co-chair shared, there's so many persons who get engaged in crime. We had a ceremony just last week where men committed crimes in their teens, 17. They're 50, 40, 60 years old.
Wow.
And that still follows them. And we were able to expunge, have their records expunged, and give them hope for tomorrow. You can't get a job when you have that stain on you, and so many people wouldn't take the risk of hiring someone who has committed a crime. We also have a difficulty when persons who have received their expungement certificates and their records are now clean, they've paid their debt to society, and some of these men, they're going in schools, they're talking to students about making the right choices and exposing their bad choices and the consequences they had to face. And then their record is expunged, and by some means, some employers have a way of getting around that to dig into their past. We had a situation where a young man was working for a security firm for a few months. Well, a good worker. But that security firm was able to go into some other records and found that he had committed a crime in his past, and they terminated his employment. Those things, when it happens like that, it doesn't speak well for society. We're trying to get them, we want them to get reacclimated, re-engaged into society, give an opportunity for them to show. I mean, they've already paid their debt, but to give them an opportunity to lift themselves. And that's what this is about, to give people the opportunity to start anew, to start afresh, to get a new lease on life. And so it's a hopeful situation, but we need to continue, we need all partners to play in it, so to give these young men and women an opportunity to forge forward with a brand new future.
How many people have benefited from this program in the Northern Bahamas, in Grand Bahama, really?
Well, in Grand Bahama, we've had almost 30 persons who've been expunged. And applications are coming in. I made an appeal, and we are continuing to make an appeal for persons to come forward. It's not an embarrassing situation. We're not going to hold you up in the public or anything like that. It's a private meeting where you can come, you speak with the committee, and we do our best, if you qualify, to ensure that your record is expunged.
What kind of offenses have been expunged?
Anywhere from drug trafficking to assault. Because with some of these crimes, they weren't all intentional. And then sometimes we have tempers, and let our tempers get away with us sometimes. So not in all cases the person is a hardened criminal.
Right.
So we those ones.
So that's the concern of the public. Are we putting back people on the
No,
we're
not putting hard.
Full of challenges.
No.
Right.
And so some people, they just go with they need a little bit of counseling, the anger management and that kind of thing. And we recommend those things, working along with social services to cause them to have an opportunity, to sort of balance out their emotions and give them an opportunity once again to restart life.
I mean,
Go ahead.
it's important to note too that the committee is able to hear almost everything except for 6 accepted cases based on the Rehabilitation Act. So whilst we can hear you if you've come before us because you've been charged with rape or armed robbery, manslaughter, treason, those matters then, we are the vetting board for which the prerogative of mercy now is able to say, these body of persons have seen this person, we've read their file, we've actually met with them. We can say to some degree whether or not remorse or rehabilitation has been affected. And then our recommendation to the Minister of National Security, the AG and his board, is to determine into whether or not this person is truly allowed to go back into society with a clean record.
How do we ensure that we are giving people opportunities? Like I can imagine, especially in Grand Bahama, where job applications, You know, no one wants to see that somebody has a criminal record and I'm still taking a risk in hiring them. Is there a great need for people to have these records expunged?
Definitely. I'll speak to my capacity as human resources. Sometimes we only see what is on the paper.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do not get to meet this person who has been rehabilitated. And so having not met them, having not even seen what the changes might have been with their lives, you've discounted someone who is an exceptional plumber, an exceptional electrician, or even an exceptional accountant, and have fallen into an environment where one wrong move caused this to be on the record. And that is one of the most prevalent things we see when we see in terms of charges. If someone has been charged with stealing by way of employment, you can't, it's a red scarlet letter all over from top to bottom. No. And so this board, this committee has done such a yeoman's job to turn around these things. Persons are even, and how Barry said it, and I appreciate how he said it, but we've even seen persons with college degrees who've made one wrong move. And you know, you never understand the mammoth task of wearing this all that time.
How do you qualify? What is the process that allows you to be exonerated?
An application. Barry in Grand Bahama has applications.
Yes, and so
An application, a police record, 2 passport photos. There was a $50 application fee that has been waived for a period of time. But once you've submitted the application, the background work starts to happen. So the committee has a secretary who is doing an amazing job. She works with CID and SIB, and then she works with social services. And it's almost a tripartite help for this now to come to the committee at the next month and says, you know, now review this person's application. But it's not so much as, you don't have to, there's no red tape, there's no hoops to jump through. There's really should be the absence of fear when you're going forward with trying to make a difference in your life.
Correct. And you know, I was able successfully to make it just a little bit easier to get away from the Nassau-centric kind of operation where, because you know, they would have to wait for social services from Nassau to call social services to Freeport and go through all that process. But now, thankfully, we have it where you can go to social services here because there are a number of interviews you need to undergo. You need to find social services. They need to ask you just some simple questions. And then once that's done, the report is made, handed to me. I shoot it off to the secretary, and the process is underway. And so and that's what I need those who apply to understand. It is a process.
Right.
It's not, you know, you send the application, we put the green
What is the average wait time?
But the average wait time can be anytime from 3 months to a year.
Okay.
And 3 months to a year, depending on what's happening, what you did.
Right.
You know, and you also, as I had to explain to a young man who was quite thirsty to get his record expunged, these things do take time.
Right.
What you did not take one day to get you here.
Correct.
So it's not going to take one day to get you out of it. And so we need you to be patient, and we are working as fast as we can. There's no wasted time. When we get in meetings, it's crunch time. I mean, we're down in it. And I dare to say that among all committees, this is the working one. Yeah, this is the working one. This is the one that's really, we really get into meetings and we get down to business because we value it as this is lives we're dealing with.
Right.
You know, husbands who need to take care of their families, wives who need to take care of their children. And so we take it very seriously. And so, but I want folks to understand that filling out the application, doing what's necessary is the beginning of the process. But we do all that we can to make that process as quick and precise as possible.
In your closing words, I simply ask, what is it like when you are able to achieve and get somebody's record expunged and you deliver that information to them? What is it like?
It's very rewarding. It sometimes humbles you because to see grown men cry, grown women cry, and you just ask one question and it triggers the pain of the past that they've lived. And to know that just providing this document that says, go free to love and serve the Lord. And it just, just becomes overwhelming too, because you're doing something that has an impact.
Yeah.
And it's very, very rewarding, yes.
I had an experience just the other day to call a young man to tell him that his record was expunged. And so after he thanked me, so graciously. And I rest my phone on the desk, but he didn't hang up his phone. And you heard him screaming in the background, yes, I'm free, yes, I'm free. Well, that just did something to me, because he's a good guy. He just got caught up wrong place at the wrong time. But it just to see that, just to hear that made my day.
Well, listen, thank you both, the services and your entire committee. What you're doing is helping to build back our society.
Yes.
All of these people help to make meaningful contributions to society, and they should be given the opportunity to do so. So thank you for your service. Because we know it's a service. We know it's a service. A labor, I call it a labor love.
Yes.
Labor love. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about us. Stay with us when we come back. What community leaders are doing to help those troubled youth and how they're making it happen to clean up our society and our communities. We continue the story here in Grand Bahama when the rundown comes right back. Stay close. Welcome back to our show. In the last segment, we talked about the expungements of records and how it's helping people who need a second chance to obtain one. This segment, I want to focus on really the community work that's going on for people who may still be challenged in the community. Challenged with whether it is criminal activity or behavior, challenged with needing more positive role models, or challenged with being able to live a normal, successful life because they have challenges with either meeting their payments, finding food, all of those things. And who better to talk to than persons who are involved in community programs. They call them community builders, community leaders. They represent various organizations, but joining me at the table now is Dudley Said, who is from Reach Out Ministries, and of course Darren Roll, who is also a part of a number of community projects and programs to help reform people in Grand Bahama. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Good to have both of you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Nice to I want to start right where I started talking about it just a few seconds ago, and that is being able to supply a need. And when we talk about supply a need, whether it's people who need more positive role models, more positive environments so that they can change, whether it's people who are hungry and need to be fed, you no doubt have come across all of them on Grand Bahama. So let's talk about what are we seeing on the ground in Grand Bahama? What are the biggest needs and issues and concerns that we are seeing in Grand Bahama?
I think in Grand Bahama today, post-Hurricane Dorian and the pandemic, a lot of needs for grocery. Most of the phone calls that I'm having is elderly persons who can't get their pension on time. That's one. Persons who find it difficult right now just to put basic needs such as a hot meal. And a lot of people are struggling a bit. Their power is off here on the island. And what I found out is years ago, it used to be just female, then you have men. Men coming to the Reach Out Center asking that I have my family. I'm unemployed at this particular time and I need something to eat. It's heart-wrenching to see a young man about 50, 60, lost his job and it's difficult for him to supply for his family. And that's some of the needs that we still have going on here in Grand Bahama. Just simple as grocery. Persons having a difficult time just to put food on their table. So at our center, since Hurricane Dorian, we supply grocery packages. On a given day, we give about 20 to 30 grocery packages. They're less fortunate here on the island. what I've learned too is you have a person well dressed, coming in a nice car, maybe a Mercedes, and they still have their dignity, but they still need something to eat.
You've seen this.
Yes.
This isn't just something you're talking about, an idea.
It's happening. It happened during the pandemic, and still today. What person say, although I'm not doing well, I still want to look good. So I've learned for the past 5 or 6 years not to look at a person the way they dress, because I think most times when people see people dress nice, hair done, they saying, hey, they could take that to put food on the table, but what we saying here in Grand Bahama, most people saying, hey, this may last, I gotta look good, feel good. And that's what I'm seeing a lot here on the island of Grand Bahama. And persons wouldn't come looking for groceries if they really don't need it. So I think we need to sensitize, we need to let the public stop looking how a person look and continue to try to help. So what it does, if a mother can't find food on the table, then it trickles down to their kids. Then when the kids can't find food on the table, then they say, hey, I gotta go out there and commit crime to pouring food in. So I don't know if they really understand the trickle down effect when persons cannot feed their family here on the island of Grand Bahama.
Wow. Mr. Earl, talk to us on some of the issues you've been confronted with that need addressing in our society.
Coming up here this afternoon, I met a group of individuals downstairs that are employed by the government, whether they are 52-week workers or they are permanent workers, but yet the Ministry of Grand Bahama is providing them an opportunity to be able to get some more certification. I think one of the challenges that we face in Grand Bahama is that we're doing so much handout that a lot of times there is no hand up. And a lot of persons are comfortable with the handout.
Rather than hand up.
So even though you may offer a hand up to them, helping people is a bag of hole. You'll never be able to fill that hole. You may get the hole clog up here and there for a period of time, but eventually it's going to be suppressed and that bag is going to need to get full again. So one of the challenges that we continue to face is a Dudley who's out there doing his volunteer work, and you have the Red Cross, et cetera, with all of us are depending on the same people to do exactly what it is that we do. So whether that's food, whether that's rent, all of us are on the call for social service. We're on the call for the police. We're on the call for the Rotary clubs. We're on the call for ZNS. ZNS have issues with food or young people that you face, and Sashina or Christine Pender or someone is always calling and saying, hey, can you help us in this direction? Right. So one of the challenge, I don't think the challenge that we face is money. I think the challenge that we face is management. Management of money, management of resources. And if we aren't honest, those of us who just want to throw money around, then that's fine. But eventually, you're going to come to the conclusion that that money is not making the kind of headway. So somehow, some way, a better analysis is needed. There's only so much funding that social service can supply, whether that's cash, whether that's paying a landlord, whether that's giving you a business, a debit card from Bank of the Bahamas or Pay or some of those other organizations that are around the world. So I think that's one of the greatest challenges we face. All of us have been on the ground. I want to say this with this opportunity, and I'm not saying this to be rude, but from Grand Bahama alone, I want to give the Bahamas this approach. A lot of our individuals who get Kelly's, Subway, Burger King, I want to go on the record to say that from what I know, your international partners, they literally put funding aside to be able to help organizations. One of the challenges that we face, and I'm not afraid to say this, is governments don't come and go. Individuals who work in government comes and go. The information on the Watson Foundation from Washington is going to always remain on file.
Correct.
That the Watson Foundation has helped that politician 15 years ago. That resources may still be around. So our problem is never supply. Our problem is sustaining the people who are in need of the supply and sustaining them for a short term. And one of the problems that, if that we be honest and most of us be honest, we are sustaining people for long term, and some people are supposed to be sustained for a long time. But then the masses should not be, because there's no way you're going to be able to have assistance to be able to help those new individuals who are coming up for whatever reason. So to me, the issue is not supply. The issue is how to manage the supply that we would get throughout the island of Grand Bahama. And there are men and women publicly and privately who are doing a tremendous job, like Reach Out and others, and being able to supply the food. But there are other areas where people are being need of, and those needs are also being supplied. I'm responsible for a group called the Falcons Boys Club that's been mentoring boys this coming January for 28 years. Wow. And we have never charged with the various activities that we have done here in Grand Bahama. We work with groups that request us to do so, or that we request to do so. So the effort as far as being able to help people on Grand Bahama, and I can't say what is on the rest of the island, but the effort is truly a yeoman's job, and I think persons who are doing it, we should continue to be thankful for an opportunity such as the rundown, for persons to continue to be engaged with us in what it is that we do with boots on the ground. And that's one of the things that I always tell the politician: you cannot take all of the resources and put it into a collab or some other resources, because
You got to spread it around.
next year the Prime Minister may send you to Nassau and let you run a different department.
Right.
So somehow, some way, there are resources that will continue even after you're gone. You need to introduce us to some of them, because we're here even after you're gone.
And piggybacking on that too, Clint, I would love for the government to treat us, organizations in this country, like the Red Cross, or get grants, like the Salvation Army. They need to start to treat us the same way, because once you invest in us, it stays in the country.
And you have a proven track record. The record is there on what you're doing.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with checking and evaluating whether these organizations are actually making a difference. When you find they make a difference, you help them sustain, sustained.
I'm not downplaying the Salvation Army,
Right.
the Red Cross. They do a
Of
wonderful
course.
job.
But it's more than them that's keeping it going.
Yes, and they need to treat us the same way, give us grants for us to continue our work. Today, I have a mentoring program. We have a conference that we held every year for the past 15 years. I do a back-to-school giveaway where we give about 1,000 backpacks. Next week, I am going to supply the whole island with over 6,000 Christmas toys next week.
6,000.
6,000, they done here already. 6,000, we going from East End to West End. And what we're gonna do this year, we're gonna go to the outskirts such as Smith Point, Maidatown.
Making sure nobody's left out.
In this point where persons who have no vehicles will have an opportunity, we're gonna go to them. And we're gonna climax with a big a Christmas giveaway on Wellington Heights, 4 o'clock next week, Saturday. But
Next week, Saturday, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, but we're going to supply with 6,000 toys.
That's
But
amazing.
And we have a press conference tomorrow. I'm working with Royal Caribbean and Celebrity Cruises, and next week Tuesday we have a press conference tomorrow. Next week Tuesday we're going to be giving away $50,000 worth of vouchers. We're going to be having a drive-through. We're going to be hosting that down at the Champs Community Center. We have a press conference for that tomorrow with all the partners. And on Tuesday, we're going to be giving away $50,000 in vouchers.
For those in need, not those who are in greed.
Yes, sir.
Those
Correct.
in need.
It's going to be a drive-through. We have a press conference for that tomorrow. So like I said, supply is never the issue. I think management of those supplies
That's
is an
such a
issue.
valuable point you raised.
Saturday coming, we have a big, huge event where we're going to be celebrating over 100 boys who've been a part of our program. Just like Dudley, for the past 21 years, we have hosted a conference called Building Youth is Better than Mending Men. And the thing with us is that we literally don't just do this in Grand Bahama. We just came back last month. We had a very successful conference at the high school in Central Lutra High School, January 24th. With the Deputy Prime Minister, we're going to be hosting a boys' conference at Ellen Coakley High School. Wow. We're getting ready to host one here in Grand Bahama for 700 boys in April. So the issue to me is, the issue is never money. For those of us who serve, the issue is never money, because the supply is going to be there. But the sustaining of the supply, the sustaining of the resources, like you said, persons who are in need.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Watson, from January to December, we have never took 1 month off. My organization has never been closed.
Wow.
During the pandemic, We were open
Kept
during
functioning.
hurricane.
Kept functioning.
Keep functioning. We have never, ever
These are the
stopped
kind of organizations we've got
what
to
we've been
support and
doing
invest in.
for the past
Gentlemen,
18
thank you
years.
so much. Thank you so much for the work you're doing in Grand Bahama and for the selflessness of what you're doing to make sure that people have another day that they can live and feel as if they still live and are surviving in a country that cares. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Stay with us. When we come back, we get an update. You know the story. We've been talking about the story about. We talked about the story with Dr. Yearwood. We're going to be talking with her, Dr. Boleg, Sandy Boleg, and of course Ingrid Carey. We get an update on how she's doing after the whole episode. That's what we're going to wrap up right after the break. Stay close. Welcome back in our final segment. How could we come to Grand Bahama and not give you an update on a story, obviously, that quickly went viral and became very popular around the country and even outside of the country, the whole ordeal about Ingrid Carey, who was in the care at an old folks home, and there were some concerns about the caretaker there taking over the home that she said was gifted to her by Ingrid Carey. And we saw how that played out. And then at the end of the day, the home was returned back to Ingrid Carey. She was removed out of the old folks' home and living back in her home. And thanks to the intervention of some family members and of course one doctor, I call it Dr. Miracle, Dr. Sandy Boleg, and who would have really championed the cause and been responsible for the care of Ingrid since then. And so she joins me live again, as well as Ingrid's sister, Ms. Thompson. It's good to have both of you here with us to just give us updates since we last spoke. Hopefully you both are doing well.
I'm well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So let's update the story to our viewers since we last spoke. Last time we did the update, she was in the home, but we understand there were some challenges to the home being vandalized. Give us an update on where the story turned from there.
Well, as it relates to the vandalization of the home, we had a lot of work that needed to be done, and it's still actually ongoing. And Mother Thompson actually wanted to appeal to the public with regards to the need for the home, particularly not just Mrs. Carey's need with her hygienic stuff, but with the home. So Mother T, you want to touch on that?
Firstly, I would like to thank everybody, everybody who has had a part in all of this. I couldn't do it.
Wow.
I'm still struggling on doing it. But the house actually was completely emptied.
Wow.
And I mean emptied. No fridge, no stove.
Really?
Nothing. No furniture.
No washer and dryer?
Nothing.
All was taken.
Nothing.
Were these items that were
They
in the
were
home?
in the home. You're talking a fully furnished home. So we are to a home what is empty. But I will say, her bedroom set, her dining room set was left. Everything else,
Gone.
gone. But I must say thank you. Oh, I must say thank you. Humbly thank you.
Well, I'll chime in on that as we give special thanks. We want to particularly thank the Ministry of Grand Bahama, Lighthouse Point, Grand Lucaya, Affluent Feeding Foundation, the Culmus, the Rolls, Pastor Boleg, Natasha Greek Goddess, Wendy Fox, Reno Smith, Shiloh Adderley, and Reverend Newton. Thanking them means a whole lot because they had their part to play and they executed in dignity. Now let's get back to the matter at hand. Mrs. Carey is flourishing I mean, like you could never imagine. She's put on 20 pounds.
20 pounds.
Being in our care, 20 pounds.
Wow.
Like Mrs. Thompson said, she don't have a belly, she has a gut. And I thought that was just so cute. She's radiant. She's still going through her meltdown, her challenges from the experience that she encountered in the home. But for the most part, she has grown by leaps and bounds. Her complexion, I kind of send you a little update. So you
I saw it.
You
I saw it.
and trust me, she's arranging the furniture. She's moving. Can you imagine her moving a hospice bed?
Wow.
I can't even move a hospice
Wow.
bed. So that's to tell you the strength and the mobility. She's coming back to herself, and I think her being in her environment has a lot to do with it, psychologically and physically, because she's in an environment that she's familiar with.
Yes.
That's her home. That's what she knows. So her mental health is coming together with the environment, as well as her on a from a holistic approach. So we are very pleased. We would especially like to thank the nursing team. The nursing team, they played a very pivotal part as well. When we did the transition to the home, then the care that was needed, the 24-hour shift was no longer 24-hour shift was no longer needed once we did that transition to the home. So, and that was very costly as well. So
I can imagine.
we thank everyone that have donated their time, monetary donations. It's really been a journey, but the end result. But I want to say something, if I may, to Grand Bahama particularly. First and foremost, Mr. Watson, I speak life to Grand Bahama. This situation was ordained by God, in spite of the negativity that one may extract from it. But I'm standing on the principle of why I was assigned to this particular matter. It's because it's time for Grand Bahama to rise to the occasion. We will no longer be defeated in Grand Bahama. We dismantle the spirit of poverty and every negativity spoken over Grand Bahama. Miss Carey's matter is a clear indication that the Most High, Yeshua HaMashiach, wants us to speak life, because Miss Carey is live and doing well. So this is indeed a testimony to Grand Bahama. And we speak to the atmosphere, to the portals of Grand Bahama, that we are blessed in the city, we are blessed in the field, we are blessed when we come, and we are indeed blessed when we go, because of Miss Carey.
Listen, I totally concur to that. And I think even what we've been doing all week with our shows and talking about how the success of even real estate, businesses, investment, opportunities, people who are challenged on the streets and are getting cleaned up and getting help. There is a different atmosphere on this island. It is no longer one of struggle and poverty and lack.
No,
it is now one of prosperity and favor and success. So the tides have turned.
Yes, sir.
The tides have turned. And so what you're seeing now, these are clear examples that what was supposed to be a written off case has now bounced back and it's doing well. And this is a good sign of life being injected into the economy. And so I concur with that word spoken over this island. We're excited to see that change is coming.
Yes.
And change is happening.
Yes.
And I think something you said, and I thought it was so important, that she has her moment where she remembers her experiences and she goes back to those places. And I think so often it's important for us to remember that that's a part of the process of healing.
That's
and
right.
we've got to know what to do when people go into that strain and that vein, how to pull them back out of it, that they don't dwell back there.
That's right.
And how have you been dealing with that when she does get into that place where it seems as though it comes back to her? What kind of support does she get?
She has the support, me being a psychological counselor as well. It's so phenomenal because I have done many case study management. And when I tell you this woman is a phenomenal case management, it's unbelievable because her being 77 years old, she can tell me from her childhood at 77
Wow.
with her mental state and her mental capacity. We do the regular counseling, and of course we incorporate that with prayer and the declaration of the word. We have a repeat after us. Sometimes she kicks against a prick, but we stand firmly on the word because we know that is the holistic part of bringing the totality of her deliverance.
Yeah. So it's a holistic healing she's getting.
Yes,
in
sir.
everything
Yes,
that she
sir.
says.
We are very excited of the progress that we have experienced. And we ourselves are being healed in the midst of it, not to have any negative vibes or ill feelings towards anybody or anything, because we want the purity to see what Yahweh, the Most High, is doing through this matter.
I'll give you the final words before we close the segment. Anything else you want to say and add to it?
The only thing that I could really and truly say,
if it had not been for the Lord on our side, where would Mrs. Carey be? I conclude with that.
Wow. Thank you both. Ms. Thompson, Doctor, thank you so much for taking time out and sharing. I know it is an emotional time when you see what you've had to go through, but you see the result of when people bound together. And when you enforce it with prayer, we see the result of it. Thank you for coming and sharing this update for us and for the people so they know what's happening. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
It's a positive note to end our show on and our time here in Grand Bahama this week. It's certainly been a pleasure. I hope you grasp what these shows are based on. The fact that we're not complaining, we're not contributing to the challenges that are in our country. We're talking about the solutions and the way out and how community is coming together to see a turnaround on this island. That is happening. That should trickle to every island in this archipelago. There is no reason for the Bahamas to be in a doldrum. We need to start focusing on the things that unite us rather than divide us. We need to start turning our trials and our stories into our testimonies and our victory statements and build a better Bahamas. That's our show from Grand Bahama. We're back in Nassau on Monday. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget 11 o'clock news, Bahamas Tonight at 11 with Royston Jones. I'm Clint Watson. Please stay safe. Thanks for joining us. Good night.